Reddit's long-anticipated IPO triggered a backlash that wiped out hundreds of millions of dollars from its projected valuation in days. Major advertisers froze campaigns citing sudden volatility. Traffic to the site's most influential communities collapsed as moderators, unpaid but essential, locked down forums, sabotaging engagement and ad inventory. Reddit's core product, user-driven content, became unpredictable, even hostile. Leadership lost control of the very platform they were selling. Investors, once eager, now questioned whether Reddit could function as a public company at all, or if its value proposition had just evaporated. This revolt exposed a structural contradiction. Reddit's market value depends almost entirely on the unpaid labor and loyalty of its most active users, yet those users have no stake in the upside. When leadership moved to monetize through an IPO, they triggered backlash from the people who make the site function. The revolt revealed how fragile Reddit's business model is, how quickly management and user incentives can diverge, and how little leverage the company has when that happens. Why should we build value for shareholders who don't care about our communities? One moderator posted. The IPO didn't just raise capital, it exposed the limits of control in a system built on volunteer governance. Reddit is not just another social media site. Its core asset is a sprawling network of volunteer-moderated forums, subreddits, where millions generate and curate content. Unlike algorithm-driven platforms, Reddit's value is concentrated in a relatively small group of power users and moderators. These individuals set the tone, enforce rules, and drive engagement. For years, Reddit's management tolerated a delicate balance. Moderators received no pay, but enjoyed autonomy and influence. In return, Reddit got a self-sustaining ecosystem, one that advertisers and investors found increasingly attractive. But this arrangement meant the levers of control were distributed, not centralized. This structure worked until the incentives changed. The IPO changed the equation. By moving to go public, Reddit's leadership signaled a shift. The platform's future would be shaped by shareholder interests, not community norms. But Reddit's core product, its content and culture, remained in the hands of unpaid moderators. When the IPO was announced, these moderators saw a threat. Their labor would enrich outside investors, while their autonomy would be curtailed by new commercial pressures. The revolt began with coordinated blackouts. Thousands of subreddits went private or restricted posts, crippling site engagement. On r/askreddit, one of the site's largest forums, moderators set the community to private with a blunt message. This subreddit has gone dark in protest of Reddit's IPO. Other communities followed, some posting banners reading, "Not for sale." Moderators used their control over key communities to disrupt traffic, undermine ad inventory, and send a clear message to Wall Street. Reddit's value is not guaranteed. It can be withdrawn at any time. Escalation came quickly. As management scrambled to reassure investors, moderators escalated tactics. Some subreddits replaced content with protest messages. Others flooded the site with off-topic posts, further degrading the user experience. Advertisers, sensitive to volatility and brand risk, began to pause or cancel campaigns. The company's revenue projections, already ambitious, became suspect. The IPO, once a celebration of growth, now looked like a high-risk gamble. The financial mechanism was simple but devastating. Reddit's valuation was built on engagement metrics and projected ad revenue, both dependent on the voluntary efforts of moderators and power users. When those users withdrew their labor or sabotaged engagement, the numbers underpinning Reddit's IPO collapsed. Investors saw not just a temporary dip, but a structural vulnerability, one that could not be fixed by capital injection or executive decree. The revolt revealed that Reddit's most valuable asset, its community, was also its greatest liability. The inflection point came when Reddit's leadership tried to reassert control. Threats to remove moderators or forcibly reopen subreddits only deepened the crisis. Moderators, who had always operated with independence, now faced a direct challenge to their authority. Some resigned, others doubled down, coordinating even broader disruptions. The company's internal tools, designed to manage content, not suppress dissent, proved inadequate. For the first time, Reddit's management confronted a reality. They could not compel the cooperation of the people who made their product valuable. The revolt was not just a PR problem, it was an operational breakdown with no quick fix. Attempts to automate moderation or replace dissenting volunteers failed to restore order. The knowledge, trust, and social capital built up by long-term moderators could not be replicated overnight. As the standoff dragged on, leadership faced a narrowing set of options: concede to user demands and risk undermining the IPO, or escalate further and risk permanent damage to the platform's culture and value. Either way, the illusion of control was shattered. Reddit's IPO backlash is not just a story about one company, it exposes a deeper risk in platforms that depend on user-generated content and volunteer labor. When the incentives of management and core users diverge, value can evaporate overnight. Traditional corporate governance assumes control over assets and operations. But in platforms like Reddit, the most valuable assets, community trust, engagement, moderation, cannot be bought or commanded. They can only be maintained through alignment of interest. When that alignment breaks, capital is exposed to risks that are difficult to price, insure, or hedge. It's like owning a skyscraper where the tenants can lock the doors and turn off the lights at will. As one investor put it, you can't underwrite a business where the core asset can walk out overnight. This case forces a re-examination of how value is created and maintained in the digital economy. It shows that metrics like daily active users or ad impressions can be misleading if they ignore the underlying social contracts that sustain them. For investors, the lesson is clear. Not all assets on a balance sheet are equally controllable, and some of the most important ones can disappear without warning. Reddit's revolt is a reminder. In the new economy, power does not always follow capital. Sometimes the most valuable assets are the hardest to own and the easiest to lose.